All right, Matt. So tell us about what happened here in this sort of non-hand call. This was a double board bomb pot. Is that right?
Yeah, so this was a double board hold'em bomb pot.
Double board hold'em
Um,
bomb pot. Okay.
yes, the only thing we're able to play at the club that I play at right now. So
Yeah, that's quite a common thing too at Chasers too, where I play quite a bit, and at Encore they don't do the PLO double boards. They'll just do the hold'em in the hold'em games. I mean, personally, I'm actually going to put out a training video on double board hold'em coming up at the end of the week. I know I had done one before, but I definitely think that double board PLO bomb pots are much better.
people tend to make more drastic mistakes in the PLO bomb pots, and there's more action too.
Yeah. All right. So what happened in this one?
So we're in the hand, and the two flops come out, and three people get it all in on the flop,
Okay.
and there's a side pot with one guy. The hand ends, and the guy in the side pot gets scooped, and then the two people in the main pot they chop it up.
Okay.
So we thought, okay, yeah, the hands over and stuff, and then we play like the next two hands or so, and then one guy at the table says, "Hey, I think the one guy scooped," and we're like, "Oh no," because I mean it was like 2 a.m. The game was dying down and stuff, so I was not paying attention to the hand or anything, but he insists that they go back and check the cameras because he thought there were four spades on the board and on the one board, and the one guy had the ace of spades. So they went back and checked the camera, and they did confirm that there were four spades on the top board, so that the guy actually would have scooped it. So everybody's like, okay, what do we do now? Blah, blah, blah. So there was some debate, and obviously the floor came over and stuff. And once they confirmed everything, they told the guy who chopped the pot with him that he would have to pay back the other guy what he would owe him.
So there's this thing that happened, and they chopped the pot up, right? Because there's two boards, right? But nobody noticed that there were four spades on one of the boards. Obviously, the hands were tabled, right? They were up, face
Correct.
up.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and now somebody brought it up to the attention that the other guy should have scooped because it was a four flush. When did that guy, who doesn't sound like who was actually involved with the hand, when did he bring it up that the other guy should scoop?
It was after the next hand was over, and they were in the middle of the hand after the next hand. So, like, two hands later, pretty much.
Like two hands later, the guy brought it up?
Yes.
Again, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I don't know what area is this played out of,
This is at Mad River Poker Club in Dayton, Ohio.
which is kind of like a sort of like a quasi membership club. But even if it was in a sort of casino, none of these cash game sort of rules are somewhat standardized from what I remember. Although I'm definitely not 100% sure about this one in California. Usually it had to be brought up before the next hand was dealt, meaning like the next card came off of the deck, the first card came off the deck for the next hand, kind of like appealing in baseball. You got to do it before the next pitch, but that might not be standardized. That would be what would make sense for a ruling like this, but I can't stress enough, and I feel very strongly about this. The element of this part is that it's actually your duty, even if you're not in the hand, to right a mistake that is happening in front of you. The dealer is making a mistake. If both hands were clearly tabled and the dealer was going to chop the pot and you notice that there was a four flush out there, you're supposed to say something. You are supposed to say, this guy has the winner. Now, obviously, it's different. Like if it's in a quasi-private game or an underground game, I probably wouldn't say anything at all. But that's pretty standardized in terms of etiquette, and might even say it in the rule book too, that it's a player's duty to do that. I don't know exactly about how long you have to basically right that wrong. And I don't know if it says something, maybe somebody can help me out in the live chat too, about TDA rules, because that's really the only place where they actually have standardized rules as well. I mean, I had a big thing happen to me when I had a huge run in the Monster Stack back in 2019, where I won an all-in with about 50 people left, and the pot was calculated incorrectly. Like, I should have won more money than I did, but nobody noticed it. There was one guy, and he said something before the next hand, and they went to the cameras and they righted the whole thing, and it took like 20 minutes, but that was before the next hand. So there has to be a certain point when you bringing up some sort of invalid action is probably too late. And I've always known it as the next hand. So if you're saying that this guy said it two hands later, that's somewhat surprising that the floor ruled in that manner. Did anybody else have to say anything about it?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was a whole discussion because the floor was just a healer because it was like 2 a.m. and there were only like two cash games going at the time. So the a usual like floor manager wasn't there. So everybody, I mean, the floor didn't really know what to do exactly. So I think he ended up calling someone, and that's what they decided on. But it made it even more strange because the guy who would have scooped was in the hand next after. So he put chips in the pot that hand. So his stack changed too. So we had to spend like 10 minutes trying to,
Reconstruct.
yeah, how much he owed the guy. Ended up being just under like $800 or so. And obviously the guy who had to fork it up, he didn't want to pay it first. I mean, I can't blame him. I mean, it was two hands after. So, but
And some people bring up some good points here too. Like it's like, what happens if somebody gets involved in the next hand from either player and their stacks change? Like, what do you do? And Nate says hypothetically, the next hand and say folded to a jam that was 500 more than it should be, right? Like this guy shouldn't have 500. Or what if the guy who owed the other guy went broke the next hand? What would they do? This is usually why they say like you got to bring it up before the next hand. So that's a new one. But again, I did want to say, because again, I see some people asking about like, should you say anything when you're not involved in the hand? You're supposed to say something when the hands are tabled and the pot is being awarded incorrectly. You are absolutely not supposed to say something if someone's holding their hand up and they don't table it. And you're not supposed to say, let's say somebody tables one pair on a four flush board, and then you've got some other person not in the hand and the opponent hasn't tabled, saying, you can't beat that. You don't have a flush. Like that's very, very, you're not supposed to do that. That's in very poor etiquette. But if the hands are tabled, you are supposed to say something. But that's a new one in terms of when, how far you can go back. Like I said, I've always known it as one hand. But I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
yep, no problem, Bart.
All right.